Well, first I'd like to thank Arden for inviting me to come. There's some of you that are familiar with what I've done in several years, and some of you aren't. So we'll kind of catch you up. When I started this in 1980, I didn't start until one of my good friends decided she didn't want to do this anymore, and that was Miss Leslie at the high school. She did it for several years. She taught English, and she did it, 3 or 4 trips. And I told her, I said, if you ever get tired of taking the students, let me know. I'd kind of like to do this. And not only for myself, because I was interested in travel, because I wanted to be able to offer this to my children. And I knew on teacher's pay it wasn't going to happen very often. Excuse me. And we've always been a traveling family. I've gone to 46 out of 50 of the states. And with my children on each coast, we continue to go to different places on both the east and the west coast. But my main interest has been traveling to Europe. I have gone to 19 different countries in Europe. And over this span, since 1980, 35 years, I have taken 237 people on the trips to Europe. And it was an accumulation of almost a year of travel, because there was only over 300 days that I have been in Europe itself. Not all at one time, of course, but through the years. One of the things that I want to give to you is so your travel, if you decide to go, would be less stressful for you. The most important thing that I found is you've got to be prepared, think about what you want to do. I call it like a newspaper, the who, what, when, where, how, and why, that we always did when I took some journalism classes. Is that correct, Lynn? So if you cover those things, the most important thing is, where do you want to go? Once you've selected the country or the place that you want to go, then you go to the next step. What do you want to see in that country? What I advise all the students and the adults that I take on trips is, if we're going to a location, you obviously want to go, or you didn't sign up to go on one of the trips, but what do you want to see when you get there, other than what is already planned and is on the itinerary? Because usually you go to the major things in a city. In London, there's so many different things to see, and one of them that we did one time is we went to the Charles Dickens Yule Curiosity Shop, which was very unique, very small little shop, which you can't find unless you're really looking for it, because it's off the main thoroughfare of what you see in London. Now when we go to London, we like to go see the Eye. People like to go see the changing of the guard and things of interest like that. On one of the first trips that we went to the church by Parliament, and we did brass rubbings, and that was kind of unique. You can't do that any longer because they were wearing out the tops of the pedestals on what they were, where they would rub do the brass rubbings. So once you decide where to go, what you want to see, then you need to say, okay, who's going to travel with me? Am I going to go, with a group? If I've never gone before, I highly recommend going with a group, mainly because in that group they offer you so many different things that you don't have to take care of yourself. For example, you don't have to do your airline tickets, your hotels. Most of your meals, the company I travel with offer breakfast and evening meal. They also include so many things in each country that you would want to go to. So when you decide, who do I want to take with me on the trip? Is this going to be like husband and wife? Are you going to go with some friends? I've had 3 or 4 girlfriends that have gone together. I've had mothers and daughters that go. I see one that just came in now. And this is a fun way to go. My daughter and I, even though she lives in California, she's gone on 8 different trips with me, and we have so much fun. And it's not like now we don't get to spend a lot of time together because we live so far apart, but it's a fun experience, and there's always something new that we want to see. So decide who you want to go with, how you want, which way are you going to take kids, little kids. Well, I don't take real young ones. I think 6th grade is the youngest that I have taken. but you want to decide that. What time of year do you want to travel? If you're going to go like to Germany and you want to go to the Oktoberfest, then you have to plan your trip around which festival that you want to go and see. Now, the last thing that students have to worry about to go, even parents, is how are you going to pay for this? That's the big question. And those of you that have gone with me know that I usually plan my trips that I take at least a year ahead. Like right now, I'm working on a trip for 2017. That gives the students and the parents time to pay for their trip, time to look at the countries we're going to, decide what they want to see that's not on the itinerary, what's extra. So in free time you can do this, because if you plan what you want, it makes it go so much smoother. Now, the most important thing that any person needs to do when they go to on a trip specifically to Europe is you need to have a passport. And I know that a lot of you have been hearing that lately. They're telling us that they may eventually make it so you have to carry a passport when you just go on an airline, just domestic, cross-country or anything. So I would highly recommend that if you do not have a passport, get it. If you have one, make sure that you have at least 6 months' time left on it. Last year I had to renew mine because there was less than 6 months' time from when I would start on the trip, and a lot of the foreign countries will not let you come into their country unless you have 6 month time period out on your passport. So what you can do is very simple. You can go, and I've printed one off here. You go to the internet, just go to U.S. passport. You can print off what you need. You can do this online. I'm not sure how you do the picture, but you can do this online. And it's very simple, because you fill out your form. You can take it down here to the post or to the courthouse. Take your credit card and or checks. Go get your pictures taken, Mr. Martin here, and you go over and you turn your information in. You have to have a certified copy of your birth certificate. And this is what causes a lot of people a little stress beforehand, because, you know, we're older. They don't have a good copy. I was born in Kansas, and my copy of my birth certificate is about this big, and it's black with white writing on it. I couldn't read that if I wanted to. I'd get a little, I can't think what it's called now, but I have to have something to help me read the passport or the birth certificate. So you have to have a certified copy of birth certificate. You have to have your 2 pictures, the legal size pictures at 2 by 2, I believe, pictures, and you have to have another accredited ID, and we all usually use our driver's license. So those are the 2 things that you have to get that. Depends on what time of the year. They are telling people that they need to go and do that, so don't put it off. Think about it, get it done if you need to renew a passport. When you go on cruises, you have to have the passport too. The other thing is, like, if you have to renew your passport, they do have a form. Like this one is usually a gold when you get the one to apply for a passport. This one has the blue on it. That's to renew your passport. And it is easier to do. And you can do it through the same process of going to the courthouse. I do have a lot of students that have told me they've gone to Kiowa to the post office because they offer this service. Our post office in Alva does not offer it, but they go up there. She has the forms. They fill out the forms to renew or to get one to start with. She takes a picture right there of it, and she pay her the money. She sends it all in, and it's like one-stop shopping. But she does do this. There's a lady up there that's done it, and you have 2 choices on how you want to do this to renew it. But you can also renew it online if you figure out how to do the pictures. One thing is you have to give them and give up your old passport. Once you give them your old passport, then they will mail you your new one. And then within 2 or 3 weeks after you've gotten your new one, you get your old passport, which has like holes punched all the way through it, so they know it's valid. It's not valid any longer. So that's one thing you need to think about doing. You can have a passport replaced in Europe. It is costly and timely because you can get your picture taken if you don't have them beforehand. But the thing about it is you have to be in a city or go to a city that has a U.S. embassy. And I have been on trips with some kids that lost theirs. They were not any of mine, but they'd lost their passports. And so it was kind of a costly thing for them because they were going to be delayed by one day of going from London to Paris on the Channel because they had to wait till their passports could be reissued to them. That one teacher had to stay with them, and these two students that had lost theirs had to do this. Well, the reason it was so much more expensive is because everybody else got on the Channel and went to Paris. They had to pay their own way because they didn't go at the time they're supposed to. So that's why I tell the students, please take care of your belongings. And I buy trip insurance, and I think it comes in handy occasionally. We'll ask Janice if it came in handy. She had a little issue last summer on our trip, and we were able to get that taken care of. It took most of the day, and we had a lot of fun that day. But and all the students went elsewhere. But that's one reason I take my daughter, because she just stepped right in. She's gone with her groups before, and she took all the students, took care of them. And Janice and I spent the day doing things that we needed to do. But travel insurance is important. I don't care where you get it. The company I travel with gives you a basic one when you sign up to go on the trip. Or you can buy others. I always buy the ultimate insurance, which pays for me having to come back if something happens. The reason I do is because my husband doesn't travel with me any longer. He has a walking issue. You have to be able to walk, and I mean a lot. But anyway, he doesn't go with me, and if I had to come back in between the trip, it would cover that and pay for that. The insurance came in handy when I took 13 ladies to Scotland and Ireland, because our luggage went to Newark, New Jersey, and we went to Edinburgh. And 4 days later, after we'd spent 4 days there, our luggage caught up with us. But I found out for 13 ladies, we got along pretty good, because they listened to me when I told them, in your carry-on, carry all your medicine, any makeup you have, men, shaving silk stuff, but always carry your medicine, and also stick in a change of clothing. It doesn't have to be slacks or pants, but a change of top, underwear. Because some of the girls bought a few things, but most of them rinsed them out at night. We'd go in the next day. And there were, we were staying at a Hilton hotel at that time, and the people in the hotel called us the Lucky 13 because we had no luggage. We just had what we'd carried on the plane with us. It did catch up with us eventually, but because of that, those of us that had ultimate insurance, the tour manager who is with us on the trips all the time, she came and brought us each $300 to cover buying anything we need to buy, which came in handy because a couple of us bought sweaters because it was cold at that time. So, but you do need to be careful about insurance because it does come in handy. The other important thing is when you think about money, it is getting so easy to travel throughout the world now because of ATM machines. Years ago, we would have to get traveler's checks, and we'd also, I used to go and get, and this was so neat, I love this, and I'll show you this. They used to have what they call, I got them at Alva State Bank, they had what they called a tip pack, and I have several of these that you could look at if you want to. But inside, what was so neat is it had a picture of the currency for that country, and then on the back, it told you if U.S. money was this is how much it would be for French money, or, you know, it was an exchange rate right on the back of it. And they were great, and these were $20, and like we were going to 5 countries, I'd collect $100 from each student or adult, and then each one of them would get one for every country we went to. And that was great because the money in Europe is really pretty. I'll see if I can find one from England here. But we had them for Switzerland and France, and maybe they aren't colored in here. No, they aren't colored. The ones in England's were fun too because they always had the picture of the Queen on them. And so it gave the kids a chance to look at them to see what currency they were going to be using in that country. Since we've changed to the euro, which happened, I think 2000 or something, maybe before that, now you use a euro in most of the countries that we travel to. England still uses the British pound, and they also use that Scotland and Wales. Ireland, which is separate, uses the euro. France uses the euro. Switzerland still uses the Swiss franc. And Italy, Greece, they all use the euro. So it's pretty easy because you go, when we get off a plane, we go right to the ATM machines at the airport to get enough money to get us started, because I want everybody to have some money, like if they want to stop and get something to drink or if they want to buy some snacks or something, they can do that. So you can usually exchange your money right there, and most everybody knows how to use a ATM machine. The only difference that you have in the foreign countries is if you're in Germany or Italy or wherever, when you go in, it says, it has a list of all the countries, what language do you want to do this transaction in, and you just push the button and go. You need to do two things on your that I think are important when you get money in another country. Take care of your debit card. I use a money shield on my credit cards and my debit cards all the time now, because my daughter's card has been, you can scan them and you've got their deal, but I use those to protect my credit and the cards that I'm using. When you go to get this debit card, get a completely different account than what you have for your home business or for whatever. I open this up, I call it my fun travel account, and I keep it booked with $2,000 to $3,000 in it. And that's just when I travel that I use that. If I need more, Jay can go and put more in it for me. If I, whatever I'm using. But it's not attached to any other account that they could get money out of. So if I lost it or somebody figured out how to use it, they could use it a little bit. But the other thing that I do is I limit how much money can be taken out per day. So if I went, in fact, it kind of backfired on me. One student had run out of money and couldn't get their cards to work. So I had just gotten $200 or $300 in that currency myself for use for the next 2 days. And so I gave them most of my money, and I thought, well, I'll just go and get some more. I'd forgotten I put a $300 limit on my card. And so when I went to get money, I couldn't get any money. But it was all right because I still had enough to get by. Now the next day, that went off, and I was able to get the amount again. But it's still a good idea to limit how much money you can get out of that particular account that you have. One other thing is that I use, and I'll show you this real quick, I use a money belt. And women can use them, men can use them. Men usually like to wear something around their neck that they can put their passport in. I put my passport, my credit cards, and I put in some American money, because you have to have money going and coming in other airports. Like we don't have an international airport. You can't leave out of Oklahoma City and fly to Europe. We always go to another international airport. But I keep this, and it goes under my clothes, and I know when somebody gets into it. I like it because it has two separate compartments, and one of them it's just a little compartment that big, and I put my credit cards in there. And then the back side of it, I can put my passport and dollar bills. So it's secure, and it's there. And this is silk. I happen to get this from Rick Steves, which he sells online or whatever. But the reason I like it is because sometimes when it's hot in Italy, you sweat, and my passport is really soft, the leather on it. And so I take it out for a while, and I'll wash and rinse this out. And because it's silk, it dries real fast. When I tell students to keep this or to have something around their neck, The one problem I have is they'll have something, hanging from their neck. They have some real nice ones for ladies, but they want to keep it outside their shirts. Well, that really doesn't do any good because, here it is. Here's my passport. Here's my money, and someone can come by. You do not realize how quick pickpockets can be. I have witnessed 2 incidents where the pickpocket was standing next to a guy, and he just kind of just stood into him, and you get joshed around when there's a lot of crowds. He has his billfold in his back pocket, and he simply flipped it, just barely touched his pocket. His billfold came up, he grabbed it, and he was gone. And there's nothing you can do about it. The other incident was, and this was funny because one of our term managers, he kind of forgot what he told us to do. He got fascinated watching a gypsy girl nurse her baby. And he did not realize that while he was watching her nurse the baby, he was getting his pockets picked. And it was kind of funny. I had one gypsy girl on a subway. I also I don't take a purse, and I take a fanny pack. And in that fanny pack, I keep, lipstick, comb, a little bit of lotion, Kleenexes, pencil, any papers I need for that day. And I found out the hard way that when I got into a subway, and we had 20 kids or so, I was making sure and looking, make sure everybody was there, and I felt something. I looked down, and this gypsy girl had her hand inside my fanny pack. She had zipped it open, had her hand in there. Well, she wasn't going to get very much of anything, but I grabbed her hand. I said, "You're going to steal from me." And I kept a hold of her, and she tried to get away, and Jake happened to be behind me, and he grabbed the girl and held her. A lady from Idaho that was with us on the trips, she said the girl started kicking, so she stomped on her feet. And by the time there was a policeman in the metro station, he came over. He said, no, don't touch. Well, Jake said, "I'm not letting her go until you get a hold of her." So the policeman got a hold of her. He took her off the subway. He walked around the corner. The doors of the subway closed, but we could still see it, and he walked back without her. There are so many gypsies in Italy that pick your pockets. They don't have enough room for them in the jails, so they let them go. It's sad to see them, but the parents send them out to do this. So this is why I tell the kids, be aware of what you're doing. The other thing that I can advise you, on some parts of our trips we've taken night coachettes on trains. And I was in a coachette. There were 4 of us in there. And I was sleeping, Lauren Heaton, our rodeo gal, she was up above in the bunk above me, and I was in the bottom one. We only had 4, and they could sleep 6. And then these other 2 people from Texas were in the other 2. The lady across from me got up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom, and she didn't wake us, which we said, wake up somebody when you go out the door, because we keep the door of the coachette closed. And she forgot to do it. And she went down to the restroom, and she came back, and in the morning she noticed her purse was empty. Somebody had come into the room once she slipped out, and we were all sound asleep. I didn't hear a thing. It's kind of scary when you think about it. And had taken her money. She had money for tips, which was, we tip our tour guide and deal. Each student pays, $6 a day for the entire, for the trip for each day. And that's a little extra bonus for them. And she'd taken all of that money that they had collected for their group, and they had about 30 students. And they had taken all of her traveler's checks. She did have a lot of traveler's checks. She had all the numbers someplace else, so she was able to get them back. And when the gentleman went down into the restroom, he found her stuff there. So he didn't take her passport or anything, just took whatever cash he could. But that's why I tell students, if you take your money belt off, I stick it under my pillow. They're going to have to physically move me to get it. And I've been lucky because I've never had anything stolen. I did find out from the backpack I had that all the zippers, there's 3 different zippers and they all met at one side. The girl had zipped it open. I now have a fanny pack that has like a a hook on it on one end, and I clip each of the 3 zippers together. You can open it maybe that much, otherwise you have to take it out of the clip. So there's little things that you can do in order to protect yourself. So I tell kids, watch your money, watch your belongings. It's very important. Let's see, I told you about the money. Now we basically just use 3 countries, is euros and British pounds and Swiss francs. There are so many great things on your smartphones or on your phones. I have an app on mine that converts everything for me. I can put in what it is and it converts it and tells me exactly what it is. I also have an app that has weather on it, and I have it set, and I have London, Paris, Rome, and I think Lucerne, Switzerland in there. So, protect your documents. Your airline tickets are very valuable. And what I have found is that I keep all of the airline tickets. It's on my shoulders. If I lose them, then I'm the one that's in trouble, and you're not going to miss out on anything. I usually give you the last airline that we have back home. But I found out one time with Arden's wife, his 2 daughters went with me, that I gave them their airline tickets in Dallas. And Nikki said, "Oh, here, hold this." And I don't remember which one she gave me. One of the daughters she gave her tickets to. And when we got on the plane, the girls got on the plane, or went to get on the plane earlier, and Nikki was getting her stuff and getting ready to get on with Cindy Smith. And she didn't have her ticket. She said, "Oh, I'll give it to my daughter. I'll go get it." And she said, "No, you're not going." They would not let her go out to get on the plane, and they would not let her daughter come back to bring it to her. I don't know how she managed it, but wasn't it Marissa? One of the 2 girls came out, and she said, "I'm staying with my mother, that's it." And so they 2 had to stay in Dallas while the rest of us flew to Oklahoma City. So Arden had 1 daughter and 2 missing, and he had to stay in Oklahoma City till the next plane came. So now I make it a point. I stand right there where they're ready to go in on the plane, and I hand each person their boarding pass. I don't take a chance of ever losing anyone that way. One of the things that I was talking a while ago is because when we go on the trips that I go on, you have a tendency to, they buy airline tickets in the bulk. And so usually they put all of those tour groups and everything else in the back of the plane, which are not the most comfortable places. And so I've gotten in the habit of learning that once you have your ticket, that you can go into the computer system and you can change your ticket. You just simply go to your ticket number, what your itinerary number is, and you can go in and say change seats. And I've been lucky enough that I have changed them, and we kind of upgrade ourselves to the ones that are a little more expensive. And usually they've never been over $100 each way coming or going. But it's a very nice deal because you get extra leg room, extra recline, and it just makes it comfortable. And if you've taken, some of the boys that I've taken are pretty tall. When I took my son, he was 6'6", and he could have used some extra leg room. And even it's comfortable for everybody if you have a little bit extra and recline a little more. But you have to do that after you're ticketed. So that's one of the things that I found that has been handy. Now, the one thing I haven't talked to you about, Jake will say I'm talking too much, is your electronics, all of your gadgets. I have a cell phone, I have a mini iPad, and I have a Nook reader that I like to take with me. So that's 3 things. Plus, I have to curl my hair because it's weird. So what I have found, and these things I have gotten through the years, this is a curling iron, and this connection, you'll notice it looks like what you put in your dryer. This is a 220 line that I use in England. That's what all of their cords look like in England. You don't want to stick your 110 appliance into their 220 because I've had one girl burn out her hair dryer. I had another girl that stuck her curling iron in one, and the next thing she knew, she put that in there, and she kept, oh my gosh, and there was her hair hanging on the end of her curling iron because it had burned it off that quick. And because it gets so hot so fast, you have to have an adapter. So I use this, and I don't have to have an adapter because I have one for the in France and Italy, and then this is the only one I can use in England. But you have an adapter, and you can buy these things here, which when you fix them right, there's your one for England. And then you push that down and you push another one up and you have one for the other country. Anyway, it adapts to it. And then you have here, if I had to plug this into it, then I could do like that if I needed to use this in France. And I could put this into there. So you have that, which comes in handy. One of the things I guess I hadn't told you about was, so I take 4 of these. Because every night I like to redo my Nook, because I read when we're on the bus sometimes, and I redo my telephone. About done here. Okay, and my iPad, mini iPad. Whatever you have, you want to take stuff in order to use. And I always try to have an extra one, because sometimes the kids need them, and adults need them, because we forget them. One of the things in England we bought, and we've been able to buy, it's called an Oyster card. It's for the subway, and it's just a little card. I keep it in the container, and you can refill it. And so I had some left from the year before, so I bought and just loaded it up when I went again. And that's for the subway and the buses, and you can reload them, but it makes it handy to have that. I put around my luggage, I buy luggage that has wheels on it, mainly because it's so much more convenient. You don't want anything that, that does not have wheels. 40 pounds is your limit. International, you can take 50. I tell everybody 40. That way we don't go overweight. And I do have some scales that I take. There's a digital scale that we can weigh everybody's to make sure it's going to pass, because they really charge you a lot of money for that. And on my luggage, I put one of these belts on it around my luggage. And I really, sometimes, I don't really need it, but it serves 2 purposes. I've seen luggage come off the turnstile when they come down that the zipper has broken and they're halfway open, and this would eliminate that from happening. Also, I can look for it. It helps me find my luggage. Black luggage is so prevalent that it's very hard to find the luggage your own luggage. We do have great big tags that the company I go with on them, and these tags help you find your luggage. They're big yellow tags, so it makes it convenient. I pretty well told you just about everything that I can think of. Yes. Yes.
Back on the trip insurance, get it early.
Yes.
Because I had signed up for a cruise, got the trip insurance, then I had a medical emergency that did not allow me to travel. The trip insurance would help reimburse me for the cost of the tickets.
Yes, that's true. If you're traveling yourself.
Same thing for your companion.
Yeah. That's why when people sign up for the trips that I take, they usually always sign up and say what they want to do. Now, if you would like, I brought some cards. I'm an academic travel advisor for the company that I go with, and I'm taking a trip next summer, 2017. And I take as many adults as I do students, so if there's any of you that think you might want to go, I have a card here. And what this means is I'm one of about 20 teachers in the United States that they send me different places to work with other teachers who have never done trips before and tell them what they need to know and help them learn how to talk to parents and to students on taking the trips. So if anybody wants a card, you're welcome to it. Are there any questions?
Janet, you're probably not taking trips and taking kids to Cancun or Jamaica or
No.
But those debit cards will not work there.
They don't.
Unless you pre-tell the bank and they pre-code.
Oh yeah, I should have said that.
Cancun or something like that.
You always tell your credit card
Cayman Islands
where you're going to be. Yeah, because I tried to buy tickets for everybody for the Eye last year when we first got to England, and they wouldn't take my credit card because it was from a travel agency, and they didn't think I would be needing a travel agent. But that's who we had to do it through the hotel. So you've got to tell your credit card company and your bank where you're going to be using your card. So, it's all yours.
Thank you.